told you that before the world even wakes up, you have a window of transformation wide open, a sacred space where your mind is most programmable, your energy most malleable, and your future most accessible. See, every morning before 10 a.m., your brain is operating at a different frequency, closer to theta, where you're not just thinking about change, you're capable of it. This is not just a routine, it's a ritual, an activity and deep learning. Alpha is a calm, relaxed state where the mind is open, present, and more easily influenced. This is not just a spiritual idea, it's grounded in neuroscience. When you first wake up, your conscious mind hasn't fully engaged yet, and your subconscious, the part of you that holds your beliefs, habits, and automatic behaviors, is more accessible. This window of time is powerful because it offers you direct access to the operating system of your brain. Most people unconsciously use this time to replay old thoughts, check their phones, worry about their day, or dwell in stress. In doing so, they begin to reinforce the same identity and emotional states that kept them stuck the day before. But when you deliberately use this time to feed your mind new thoughts, emotions, and intentions, you start to reprogram your brain with a new story, one that supports your growth and potential. Neuroscience shows us that repetition and emotion are key to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. So if you practice gratitude, visualization, or affirmations during this period, you're not just thinking positive, you're creating measurable chemical and structural changes in the brain. The pathways for stress and fear begin to weaken, while those for confidence, clarity, and purpose begin to grow stronger. Over time, this becomes your new baseline. The person you want to become isn't found in the chaos of the afternoon. It's shaped quietly in those first moments of the morning when your brain is most ready to believe in a new reality. The first actions you take in the morning are more than habits. They are instructions to your nervous system about how the rest of your day will unfold. Within minutes of waking, your body is primed to receive emotional signals. If your first actions are reactive, checking messages, rushing, stressing about your to-do list, you're teaching your brain and body that the day is one of urgency and overwhelm. That initial state becomes the emotional baseline, and your system spends the rest of the day trying to maintain that frequency. When you repeat this pattern daily, it becomes a program. Your body learns to expect stress and chaos before you even leave your bed. Over time, this leads to a cycle where you unconsciously recreate the same emotions day after day, keeping you locked in the past and limiting your ability to evolve. The truth is, your day doesn't begin when you walk into your job or turn on your laptop. It begins the moment your consciousness returns from sleep. And in that moment, you have a choice. Choosing to start your day with calm, intention, and presence sets a radically different tone. Whether it's 5 minutes of breath work, writing a few lines of gratitude, or simply sitting in silence, these actions tell your system, today, I am in charge. You shift from a reactive state to a creative one. Instead of falling into your past emotions, you begin building the emotional architecture of your future. This emotional state becomes the magnet that pulls the day toward alignment. It becomes easier to make empowering choices, to respond rather than react, to create rather than survive. Your first actions are not small. They are signals that align your biology with either your old story or your emerging potential. Consistency is the foundation of identity. The actions you repeat each morning are not just part of a routine. They are declarations of who you believe you are. When you commit to a specific habit before 10 a.m., and you do it consistently, you begin to wire that identity into your nervous system. It's not the size of the habit that matters most, but the repetition and the emotional energy you bring to it. Over time, the habit stops being something you do and starts becoming a reflection of who you are. You no longer have to force yourself to show up. You simply align with the version of you who does. The brain thrives on patterns. Every time you complete a morning habit with focus and intention, you're building neural circuits that support focus, discipline, and alignment. These circuits grow stronger with use, just like muscles. And as they strengthen, you begin to feel momentum. That feeling of progress, however small, is deeply motivating to the brain. It generates a sense of control and forward movement, which are crucial to mental and emotional well-being. Momentum, when built early in the day, carries into every interaction and decision that follows. You begin the day already having kept a promise to yourself, which builds trust in your own word. That trust becomes internal confidence, and confidence becomes fuel for greater actions. Without this foundation, it's easy to drift, react, and lose time. But with a morning habit locked in place, you have a stable anchor, a moment of certainty that reminds you who you're becoming even when the day gets unpredictable. This sense of inner rhythm creates an upward spiral. The more consistently you act like the person you want to be, the more you believe that's who you are. And eventually, that belief becomes your reality. Most people wake up and immediately fall into the familiar patterns of survival, checking notifications, worrying about time, reacting to problems, and bracing for stress. This state of survival activates the sympathetic nervous system, flooding the body with adrenaline and cortisol. While these chemicals are useful in short bursts, living in this state every day keeps you trapped in the past, reinforcing the same thoughts, emotions, and actions that created your current reality. It's nearly impossible to create a new future from a state of fear, anxiety, or urgency. To create, you must first move out of survival. Intentional mornings are your opportunity to do just that. When you begin your day by choosing presence over distraction, gratitude over worry, and vision over memory, you signal to your body that it's safe to relax. You shift into the parasympathetic nervous system, the state of rest, healing, and creativity. In this space, the body is more receptive, the heart is more coherent, and the mind becomes fertile ground for new ideas and possibilities. You begin to access your higher faculties, intuition, imagination, and conscious intention. This shift from survival to creation doesn't take hours. It can begin with just a few minutes of stillness, breath work, visualization, or mindful movement. The key is not in how long you do it, but in how present you are while doing it. Each intentional act in the morning becomes a signal to the brain that you are no longer operating from the limitations of the past, but from the vision of your future. You stop being defined by your environment and start becoming defined by your intention. The external world no longer dictates your internal state. Instead, your internal state begins to shape how you move through the world, which is the first step toward personal transformation. Every time you choose to skip your morning habit, you're not just missing a task, you're reinforcing your old identity. You're telling your brain and body that it's safer to stay in the familiar patterns than to step into change. The subconscious mind thrives on repetition, and when the repetition is rooted in inaction or avoidance, that becomes your program. Over time, skipping that habit doesn't feel like a mistake. It starts to feel normal. And normal becomes your limitation. On the other hand, when you choose to follow through with that morning habit, even when you don't feel like it, you send a powerful message to your biology. Change is happening. That act becomes a micro decision to leave behind the old self and embody a new version of you. And the more often you do it, the stronger that message becomes. You're no longer relying on external motivation. You're drawing energy from identity. You're doing it because that's who you are now, not because it's a trend, a challenge, or a short-term goal. This process is about more than productivity. It's about neurochemistry, energy, and self-trust. When you act in alignment with your desired future, even in small ways, your brain begins to release chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, reinforcing the feeling of progress and coherence. That feeling becomes addictive in the best way. It replaces the old emotional addictions of stress, guilt, or procrastination with something elevated, something intentional. And this is how real transformation happens. Not in big, dramatic moments, but in the quiet, consistent choice to show up for yourself before the world asks you to show up for everything else. You are either rehearsing the past or rehearsing the future. And that habit before 10 a.m. is your rehearsal for the life you're stepping into.